Good evening. It is Friday, May 22nd, 2015, and I'm Namsnoodle back with another podcast. And last week, just to go over just to sum up what I went over, it was just about life stresses and anxiety. I just had gone through an anxiety attack, and, I got through it though. I mean, and doing that podcast it helped a lot, but, it's just, I just try to focus on, the positives of life, try to, and it's also about setting realistic goals for yourself, and that way you don't overwhelm yourself, and two, you don't set yourself up for possible failure and a huge crash that you just go into spiral into a deep depression. But uh today, I've been debating about. There's been so many topics I wanted to talk about, but I kind of want to limit them because I want to spread out my the topics of the shows, and just delve into them a little bit. And uh, I guess it's about friendships and friends in general, and starting from when you're a young kid all the way up to when you're growing up as an adult. And first off, you start as a kid. First friends you might make are might even be before you go to school. It might be like arrangements that your parents, like I remember when my mom actually knew another person. Well, I'll go figure. Yeah, but this other person she knew, better way to put it. They had a set of kids, and they had set up play dates for us, and we, would go to their house. They'd come to our house, and we would, interact and hang out and play with each other all the time as we were kids. And I just remember then after, like, when I started kindergarten, I didn't see them anymore. And it kind of, that kind of sucks because I did enjoy the times that we had. And this is over 20 years ago. And but then I start kindergarten, and I meet these new people, these new kids, and you start relationships with them. And you find your best friend, and the person who you think is going to be, through the ups and downs. You're probably not thinking it in this aspect, but your best bud that you want to hang out with all the time. And you go through those years through for me, like elementary school. I mean, you go through phases too of you might have, like, I was in a small classroom. It was the classroom of 25 kids every year, same kids, kindergarten through 6th grade. So we knew each other. Everyone knew each other really, really well in the sense of that we grew up together. That's just how to put it. I mean, everyone knew each other, and we also all graduated together as well eventually too in high school. But you would go through stints where you might not see eye to eye with that best bud you just made, and then you go off and with another group of kids or someone else, and then you might revert back to that person, and it goes back and forth. And I saw that happen a lot too. I noticed that from grade to grade it changed. I mean, there's some guys right now though from that I just recently caught back up with, that I went to elementary school with, or I just also uh, have seen for the first time in probably nearly a decade. And I shook him. I'm like, "Hey man, hey, how you doing? It's good to see you again." And it's just, but everyone, life also takes you different directions as well, and I'll delve into that a little bit later. But elementary school, you basically knew each other, and the when we got to junior high, my 7th grade year, that's when the other classes within the school district. So like there was two other elementary schools. The one had 4 classes, and the other had 2 classes to go with our one. So a total of 7 classes would enter junior high, 7th grade, and experience all new people, and peer pressure, and trying to fit in and be cool and fit the norm, or try to have as many friends as you can. uh, even though it's like the more friends you think you have, the more popular or the better you feel about yourself. Even though people might, you look back, it's like, were any of these people really my friends? I mean, you talk to them. It's like I counted a list of like, oh, who were my friends? Oh yeah, he's my friend. This person's my friend. Oh, I have over 100 friends. Well, I mean, you know these people. I don't know. I look back and it's kind of silly. I mean, I didn't hate any of them, obviously, but I mean, to consider them my friends and acquaintances are two different things. But I mean, I remember the person that I hung out with a lot in seventh grade. Uh, my family didn't really want me hanging out with certain people because they didn't know anything about these kids themselves, unless like my brother and sister they like had uh were in classes with like siblings. Like if the person I was hanging out with had siblings that were in my brother and sister's classes, or be, and my parents knew, it'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, I knew that. But I think when my parents didn't know who I was hanging out with and didn't have any idea, they got worried. They just didn't want me getting mixed up with the wrong crowd. So sometimes I didn't get to hang out with the people I wanted to, and it wasn't. I don't think it was anything personal looking back. Obviously, it was my parents was just looking out for my best interest. But I had a guy that I palled around with, and all seventh grade, huge wrestling fan, and we would just talk about nonstop about wrestling and all this other. Just that was just it for us. We just talked. I mean, I'm a huge wrestling fan. Well, I mean, it's not as good today as it was when I was growing up as a kid, but I I think perspective is different though. When you look at things from when you're a kid and an adult. Uh, I want to make a side comment about that, about how your perspective of things was like. Do you remember the show All That? Like that show was good when we were growing up, and then a buddy of mine that I know, he said he went back and watched some of those videos or some of those shows on YouTube of All That. He said it's not that good actually. I mean, when we were growing up, yeah, it was funny, but now I look at it and it's like it's not really that funny. And uh so I mean, the things that we're probably saying, oh, suck today, if we see it on Nickelodeon, that someone might have been probably thinking about that, about All That at our age, possibly. So I just want to make that side remark, and it's a good point. So uh, but going back to the friends, and then in eighth grade, it's you realize, like when I was in seventh grade, I just mainly hung out or talked to people in my own grade for the most part. But then when I became in eighth grade, there was like because I didn't talk to the older kids really, except for the few people that you know that were friends with my brother and my sister. Other than that, I just talked to people in my own grade. But then when I was in eighth grade, then the seventh graders came. Well, because see, the eighth graders and seventh graders, they had a whole wing and hall to themselves, while the rest of ninth through 12th grade had their own section of the whole high school, basically. And then, yeah, like I said, the seventh and eighth graders had a whole wing and unit to themselves. And so, I mean, I got to know seventh grade. I had a huge crush on this girl for most of my eighth grade year, which was her seventh grade year, and most part of my ninth grade year and part of her eighth grade year. And that's another thing. Uh, don't Not on good terms with her, obviously. I mean, a long story, but it's just I. It's a situation where I don't know what I did wrong, because like the last time I had ever talked to her was in the hallway in 10th grade, and everything seemed fine. But I just, apparently after that, I guess she didn't want to talk to me, which is all fine and good, because and then it's like you end up talking to people who you would never thought of associating with in high school afterwards. So you make friends with it makes up for it. But it kind of sucks, because it's like, yeah, you still have memories, and times that you think about, and if you think about something or look at something, and you can't help but think about that person, and then it sucks, or you hear a certain song, and you go back and thinking about that. I think about that crush sometimes, and it's like, oh damn it, and what are you gonna do? But it's just the people, it's like, oh, when you first meet someone, friends to the end, and then, or really, and then I really, and then in ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th grade, I mean, going back, I want to go back to my fourth grade year. That there was a new kid that moved in, and he started going to our elementary school, and he basically just lived a couple houses down from my brother and I, and the three of us, we just formed a bond, and he basically became our brother, and his family became my brother and my our second family, and vice versa. And to this day, I'm still close with his family, so that is good. I am glad that that happened. I still have a close bond with his family. I haven't talked to him though, and I've lately. I don't know what's really going on with him. Um, Maybe personal stuff. I haven't been. I mean, I've reached out to him. People. You know, I try not to push anyone. I try to give them their space, but I'd really, I'm sure it's nothing personal, but definitely would love to catch up with him. It's been about it's been about over 2 years now since I've talked to him, last seen him, because I came up and I had visited my hometown when I was living in North Carolina. I went back up to Pennsylvania and visited, and I saw him, and we got together. We watched football. It was a great time, and those are also special. And it's just sad, I the directions life takes you, and it's like my brother had told me. Like I said to him, I think it's don't you get ever worried, or don't you ever get tired of like having new best friends, or don't you ever miss your old friends? He goes, no, not really, because it's life. I it's just, that's just how it is. I go where the wind takes me, and whoever I meet along the way, those become my friends at the time. And I thought at the time, that's pretty shitty. That kind of sucks. But then as I started realizing, with all the jobs I have, he's right. I mean, because you don't have time really like you did when you were a kid or a teenager to make set aside time for those people that you used to hang out with and run around with during your high school days. And to comment on that aspect, like one friend of ours that I had made lunch plans, and we did have lunch together, and that was nice. That we hugged, and it was the first time seeing each other in like nearly in over 7 years, almost 8 years. And we've been wanting to get meet up together again and have lunch, but just our schedules are just don't uh, coincide with each other, and that's what makes it difficult. And that's what my brother was getting at, because and it's not that he won't want to hang out with these people or want to see them again. That's not the case at all. But now, especially when my brother, he has his family of his own. He has as I mentioned, he has a kid already, and there's another one on the way. I mean, you got priorities to take care of, and the people that you associate with are through work or other means, that like we have a softball league, and you associate with the people, the friends that you make through that. And that's been how he's been rolling. And but he's doing fine for himself, and like I said, it's not like he won't want to hang out or see these people again. I'm sure he would love to, especially another friend of ours. I spoke to him on Christmas Eve, because that's when his birthday falls on. He'd be like, yeah, it'd be nice if your brother and I could get together. I'm like, yeah, that would be nice, and then and I tried to be like, afterwards I wished him like a week later, Happy New Year, and be like, yeah, it'd be nice to get together. And I haven't heard from him much since, though, and that's just how it is. And I remember he at one point was like working 20-hour days, or that's how, like, he eventually had to quit the job because it just became too much. But I mean, it's just, I mean, your friendships, it's just, you barely have time for yourself. So, and you're not going to have sometimes you're not going to be able to have time for these friendships to to stay together or to keep it as it was like 10 years ago or what like it was in high school. And I sit there and I always think every day, I never forget the people I grew up with, because they always hold a special place in my heart. I'm not trying to sound cheesy or corny in any sense, but even though it may come off that way, but that's just they've everyone that I've encountered, that's I've because of them is the person I am today. And I thank them for that. So I mean, and though at the same time I don't know if that's a curse or a gift, but that remains to be seen. But I mean, as long as I keep a good head on my shoulders, I'll be fine. But there's and I'm starting to realize it myself too. Like I'm meeting new people, working with new people, and associating with new people. And as much as I try to keep in contact with the people I went to high school with or even elementary school with, it's hard, and it almost seems like it's impossible, which it's not. But it's just it gets to that point to setting aside time for that or making time for that, making sure your schedules are matched up with each other. But it's sometimes not the case. And another friend I just talked to recently, and he's like working 80-hour weeks, and so I mean his time's pretty much consumed as it is, and I'm sure when he gets off, he doesn't want to. For the most part, I would assume he probably doesn't want to be out and about. He probably wants to just go home and just relax. And who can blame him after long days like that when you're working like 80-hour weeks, probably like 16-hour shifts, I believe he was working. So the last thing you want to do is just go out and do stuff when you could just go home and just chill and relax and take a brush off your feet, and which is what I'm doing after my long day as well. But and I'm just venting here on my podcast, but that's why I'm I like doing this, because it's relaxing. But at the same time, I'm in the confines of my own home, and I'm not out and about. Now, if I was a teenager and I just got done with school, I mean, now think about that. You always try to make plans with your friends during as much as possible. Like, oh, man, what are you doing this weekend? We should do something, Or hey, what are you going to and that'd be another thing, like the football games, the high school football games. That'd be always a place to hang out with friends and run into your peers too, as because everyone would go. That'd be the thing to do during the falls on Friday nights, and walk around the football fields countless times aimlessly. You know, but some of these people, you know, some of them have gone to better themselves professionally. Some have moved out of the area because of the jobs and the careers where they take them. Some of them, some of the people that you go to high school with or have gone to high school with, it's like they were you know, the, the basically the star pupil because of who they were, what their last name was, and you know, they. I mean, they're doing good for themselves, but they, in reality, were no better than you were, no worse either. So, I mean, I don't want to knock anyone at the same time, uh, but then there's also people that if I think I'm having it bad, I find out others. My good friend of mine was in drug rehab, and it's like, oh shit, damn, that sucks. And then I found out other people who were the least people the last person I would suspect with a drug problem. I get told that they are in a drug rehab. So I mean, it's just surprising to what else happens and goes on uh, with people in their lives. And you try to stay connected with the people that you were friends with, but sometimes it's just too hard. And the people who you do associate with are sometimes the ones that you work with, because they're the time they're the people who you spend most of your time with, and nobody likes to be alone. And if you're getting along with people who you work with and associate with, why wouldn't you want to spend time with them? And if they make you feel good, and you're not feeling alone. And that's what I'm like too, with some of the people on my softball team that I'm on as well. And it's just you're just always you're always meeting new people. And as much as it does suck, sometimes people get left behind, but that's just a fact of life. And it's not done on purpose, obviously, but I mean, if I could see everyone that I wanted to, I would in a heartbeat. But I know it's basically sometimes in a way impossible. I know I've said that already, but trying to make time, you're trying to make time for yourself. Uh, you're hardly gonna have any time, let alone to make time for others sometime. And that might sound selfish, but what I'm getting at is, again, just when you work, especially long days, you just want to, like, again, like I was referring to my other friend, you just want to go home and relax, take a load off your feet. And and I mean, even like if I was to call my dad or my mom, like that's even seems like a too much of a hassle just to pick up the phone and talk to them, because it's like, oh, I just got off of work. So I mean, now put that in perspective. That's like your own family, and then you're talking about friends. But uh, trying to going back to the people though that you mainly always associate with are the ones that are currently in your life the most. And that's basically what's going on for me right now as well. And it's are they your best friends? I don't know. I wonder, because who knows what's going to happen from 5, 10 years from now? What's down the road and down the line? Something else might, life might throw you a curveball. You might get an opportunity where you might have to move out of state, or just to a different location, or even if it's just not even out of state, if it's just a different job, you're going to associate with new people at your new workplace as opposed to the old one. You might not have much time than the people that you had made friends with there. So, and then you start up a new uh you know strike up new friendships. So it's like just a circle that keeps going around. But yeah, I'll end the podcast on that note. Feel free to let me know what you think. I mean, it's like, you have the best friends forever, and that best friend forever, you don't even talk to them anymore. You see that all the time, that through high school or elementary school, or you go back and look at old pictures and like, damn, man, I wonder what that guy's up to nowadays. But yeah, feel free to leave a comment. Let me know what you think, how you feel. With who you hang with. Are they? I mean, the world's in a constant change. But do you still try to keep in touch with people that you went to high school with, or I mean, a select few. I mean, because a lot of times the majority of people are like, I don't, you know, I didn't like a lot of people I went to high school with, but I mean, you still had certain friends. But I mean, do you still try to keep in touch with people? Feel free to let me know and share your thoughts and opinions on this. I'll end this edition for this podcast. Thanks again. I'll leave a link to my Facebook page and Twitter. You can follow me on there. And with that said, I'm Nam, and always use your noodle.